Alright, good morning guys. You know what it is. It is leak time. Obviously, yesterday evening there were new leaks for the May pack, which I still consider to be the April 30th pack, which should come tomorrow. I still hold to this theory. Now I am bought in. I have to keep with this theory, even though it most likely is wrong. So I guess prepare for all the new cards coming in May, not tomorrow. But I'm still hoping. I still somehow think that this is going to happen. But what is going to come in the May pick? An archetype that everybody was waiting for. I think this is also why Dkayed leaked these last, because everyone was very, very hyped for the Horus cards. Yeah, not the old Horus cards, not Horus the Black Flame Dragon, which obviously is a very cool card. I wasn't even aware that they also had a synchro one. Okay, very interesting here. Dark Horus, wasn't also aware of this guy, but okay, old cards here, old cards. But what we are getting here are the new Horus cards, and we can quickly look at them and understand what is happening here. Let's look at the tome two most relevant ones first. So this one doesn't count. For some reason it is here, but we have the Duamutev, the Kubeshkenev, the Imseti, the new Horus, the Black Flame Deity, Happy, the Sarcophagus, the Field Spell Walls of the Imperial Tomb, and then Canopic Protector, which the first wave of the Horus cards were these four, the four guys here that you can resummon, not the Black Flame Deity and the Sarcophagus. And these three here are new. These three are from the second wave of the Horus cards, so we are not quite sure if we will get them also, but I would guess that we will get them all together. If we get them all together, you can play some sort of control stun Horus deck with Bestials and other stuff, Adventure Engine. You can play something like this if we get all of them. If not, then this is an engine that you can combine with a lot of other engines. These are basically free level 8 bodies that you can use to go into very strong XYZ level 8s with. Also used in tier events. This is definitely new support for tier events. Tier events Horus was definitely a thing and also was quite good. But what is this even? What is this even doing, right? So let's understand this engine by looking at Imseti and King Sarcophagus, because those are the main ones, you could say. King Sarcophagus is what binds it all together. It's a continuous spell that says you can only use the second effect of this card's name up to 4 times per turn, haha, which is because you have 4 of these, you could say them, call them basic Horus guys. That's why you can use this 4 times. So firstly, Horus monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects unless they target them. So this is a non-targeting protection. Very interesting, very unusual. Then the second, you can send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard for cost. Send 1 Horus monster from your deck to your graveyard. This is the effect that is mentioned here with the 4 times. Once per turn at the start of the damage step, if your Horus monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send that monster to the graveyard. So without having a damage calculation, which is nice because then you can out some things that you normally cannot out, right? So monsters that cannot be outed by opponent's monsters or battle can then be outed by the King Sarcophagus. Okay, but what does the Sarcophagus do and why do we want to send stuff into the graveyard? Let's read Imseti to understand. We have Imseti. It says if you control King Sarcophagus, and every other one of the 4 base cards say this. I'm not quite sure if this one also, if you control a Horus monster and King Sarcophagus. Okay, so the Horus, the Black Flame Deity, which we can read in a second. I also am not super familiar with this card. I have to say this card requires a Horus monster and the Gold Sark, but that's not a problem. If you control King Sarcophagus, you can special summon this card from your graveyard. And every one of the 4 guys, of the 4 basic guys, basically has this. So you having a King Sarcophagus basically means that you can special summon once per turn every one of these Horus guys from your graveyard to the field. And obviously, as you can see, they have quite a bit of stats here, so they are big bodies that can definitely hurt and have their own very strong effects. And the funny thing is that the Canopic Protector, the trap card that we might not get, is also able to, once per chain, when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon 1 Horus monster from your hand or graveyard. So it's really funny. You can special summon them once on your turn, and if you then activate the trap, for example, you play a pure Horus deck, then you could also summon them again on your turn. And then Imseti also has the effect, you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can send 2 cards from your hand to the graveyard, including this card. add one King Sarcophagus from your deck to your hand, then you can draw one card. So this basically replaces itself with a new card and gets the King Sarcophagus to hand, which is why this is the most important one. This is the searcher for the King Sarcophagus, which is why you play 3 MTI, because this searches you the kings, and then you play one of the other ones. Or in the Telements deck, you will most likely only play 1 MTI and 1 Happy, and then the King Sarcophagus. And then every one of these guys has an effect that is triggered when a card leaves the field, basically. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect where this card is in your monster zone, you can send one card on the field to the graveyard. And every one of these guys, as I already said, they can be summoned by having the King Sarcophagus live, and every one of them has one of these effects, right? So for example, Happy has, if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect while this card is in your monster zone, you can target 2 cards that are banished and or in the graveyards, multiple, so either your graveyard or your opponent's, either add both to the hand or shuffle both into the deck. So you can add back your resources to the hand, which is obviously super strong. Then we have the Duamutef, which says if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect where this card is in your monster zone, you can draw cards equal to the number of monsters with different names in your main monster zone, which if you have all of them live, this is 4, which is very nice. And then Kuebetchnuef, the worst one from of all of them, if another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect where this card is in your monster zone, you can activate this effect. This turn your opponent's monsters cannot target Horus monsters for attacks. Also your opponent cannot target Horus monsters on the field with card effects, which means you have to get rid of this guy first, basically. And then he protects all of the other ones from being targeted with card effects, which is also very, very strong. So very insane. By the way, this guy here, he only has 0 attack, but this guy gains 1000 attack and defense for each Horus monster you control, so can be quite a lot here. So as you can see, and this is the thing about the Horus engine, if the King Sarcophagus is on the field, which protects you against non-targeting, it also says that you can send something away. So obviously the choke point here is getting rid of the King Sarcophagus, because the King Sarcophagus protects every one of these guys. But if you get rid of the King Sarcophagus, so let's say for example your opponent has all of these 4 on the field and you get rid of the King Sarcophagus in order to have them no longer be protected, and obviously because the King Sarcophagus resummons everything, then every one of these guys will trigger and activate a very, very strong effect. And if you get rid of any one of these, the other ones will trigger. It's very hard breaking a Horus board because you really have to think about which effects you want to trigger and how you will out this thing, given that they have the King Sarcophagus and then every one of these on the board. And as I already said, obviously you normally in the Horus control deck you tend to keep them on the field as their own bodies, because if they are on the field, all 4 of them, and the King Sarcophagus is up, then it's obviously very strong. But normally if you play this as an engine in another deck, for example Telements, you will use this to make level 8 bodies. You can, for example, in Telements make the Beatrice, no, not the Beatrice, it was something else, not the Beatrice. I forget what I'm saying here. But you can make something, some XYZ, some useful XYZ in Telements. You can make this level 8 monster negate guy, the photon guy. Yeah, but this is an energy complaint Telements, as I already said, also because the MTI, for example, sends cards to the graveyard, so you can send a Telements monster to the graveyard in order to fusion summon. And then if we also get this other stuff here, so that you have heard, as I already said, this one is able to, as a trap, summon every Horus guy back. And then also if this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you can set this card but banish it when it leaves the field. So it can also be set once again if, for example, you lose this card, or you can also send this for a cost for the MTI here, and then it can just set itself onto the field. So it wasn't even a -1 here with the MTI. In the words of the Imperial Tomb, this card name becomes King Sarcophagus while in the field zone. So this is another King Sarcophagus, which means if this card is online, you can also resummon the guys from the graveyard each turn. And then during a main phase, you can add 1 Horus monster from your deck to your hand and then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of the deck. Obviously, you would want to dump them into the graveyard with the King Sarcophagus rather than adding them to the hand, but this is also an option. And then Horus the Black Flame Deity, which I don't even know if you would play this in a pure Horus deck, honestly. This is kind of like the boss monster, I guess, but I'm not sure if pure Horus decks are playing this. If you control a Horus monster in King Sark, you can reveal this card in your hand, then send 1 card from your hand or field to the graveyard, send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. This is then still in your hand, I guess. If you face up Horus monster, you you control except this one leaves the field by an opponent's card effect. You can special summon this card from your hand. Then you can send all monsters on the field to the graveyard. Okay, this is, I guess, why we are not playing this one. This is very specific. Board clear, that also clears your board. Interesting. I mean, clearing your board might not be the worst thing because you can just resummon the guys with the King's Sarcophagus, right? But I think in the pure version, you aren't even playing this Black Flame Deity. So the good thing is, if we only get the first wave of the Horus cards, then it's not even that bad, because the first wave contains the most important ones, I would say, the Sark and then the 4 guys here. So yeah, very cool. I'm very happy that we will get this. I'm looking forward to playing a bit of tier elements with these cards. Don't you worry, tier elements won't be busted with this, with the Horus cards. It's just a nice engine for them. They won't go back to the old power level that they were before. With all the hits, it's not really possible. But yeah, guys, that is the Horus League for the May pack. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are you excited for this? Will you try this out? What do you want to play this in? Because you can play this in multiple decks. Of course, you can splash this in a lot of decks if you just are able to put some rank 8s in your extra deck, of course. Let me know what you think here in the comments. Thanks for being here, and obviously we will see each other in the next one. There will be more videos coming today. Stay tuned for that.